Happy Halloween, everybody, and welcome back to the Monster and the Lighthouse podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Goodwin, here on Wednesday, October 29th. So we're not quite to Halloween yet, but figured I'd say happy Halloween because this will be the last episode that we do before Halloween. We come back probably on Monday. That will be Monday, November 3rd. So crazy enough, we're almost in the month of November. And with that, the NFL season rolls along, and in fact, on Tuesday, November 4th, is the NFL trade deadline. So already a couple moves that the Patriots pulled off yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit in today's episode, as well as previewing the Patriots and the Falcons at Gillette Stadium on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And we'll also talk a little bit about the rest of the NFL schedule, maybe give you some predictions for some of the other games. I'm not really into betting, so I won't be talking about the overs and the unders, maybe just who I think is going to win. I don't know if I'll give specific score predictions. And then we'll talk a little bit as well about the World Series. A couple of games have happened since I was last on Monday, and boy, especially Monday nights, was a real interesting game. So we'll talk a little bit about that in this episode of the Monster and the Lighthouse podcast. All right, so first thing is first. We are going to talk about the Patriots and the Falcons coming up on Sunday. So the Patriots, as we talked about on Monday, coming off their fifth straight win over the Cleveland Browns to improve to 6-2 on the year. They are rolling as of right now, and once again, we'll have another home matchup this coming Sunday as they take on Atlanta. Atlanta comes in at 3-4, suffering a humiliating loss at home to the now 2-6 Miami Dolphins, who came in 1-6 and just in horrible shape, having lost 4 in a row entering that game. But Miami absolutely tore apart the Falcons last Sunday, and we're actually going to look a little bit at some of the stats of that game as we get into the preview section for today. So in that game, Tua Tagovailoa for Miami went 20 of 26, 205 yards, so not a ton of passing yards over the entire game, but 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns for Tua Tagovailoa. On the other side, Michael Penix was out for the Falcons with a leg injury, so it was Kirk Cousins who started the game. And Cousins went 21 of 31 for 173 yards, no touchdowns, and also no interceptions, but still not a good overall game. But the important thing for the Dolphins, I think, in that game was their defense shut down the star running back for Atlanta, Bijan Robinson. Robinson had just 9 carries for 25 yards on the afternoon. So not a good day at all for him. And on the other side, Miami's rushing attack did quite better, although Devon Achane, who's their number 1 running back, also one of the best backs in the league at the moment, he had 18 carries for 67 yards. No joke there, I'm sorry. I know that joke's been going around so much, but no joke there. Jalen Waddle on the Miami side as well. Obviously, Miami without Tyreek Hill for the remainder of the season, a huge loss for them. But Jalen Waddle had a nice day, 5 catches, 99 yards, a touchdown. The leader in receptions for the Falcons was their tight end, Kyle Pitts, went 9 catches for 59 yards. So what do the Patriots have to do in this game to slow down the Falcons? I believe it looks like Kirk Cousins will probably get to start again. The Falcons led by head coach Raheem Morris. I think Kirk Cousins will probably end up starting the game again, barring a return from Michael Penix. But I'm going to look up and see a game preview, Patriots at Falcons. Why not take it right from the source, the Patriots website? Yeah, so this will be the Patriots' first time facing Atlanta at Gillette Stadium since October 22nd of 2017, and the Patriots beat them that year on Sunday Night Football 23-7, a convincing win that, of course, was the year after the Patriots, the season after the Patriots beat Atlanta in the infamous or famous, depending on what team you're a fan of, the 28-3 comeback in Super Bowl 51. That next season, the Patriots faced them in a primetime game, a Super Bowl rematch, and Brady and the Pats came out on top 23-7 in a dominating fashion. And that was the famous fog game for the Patriots. It was a Sunday night. Of course, before all the Sunday night games, the teams usually shoot off, fireworks from the stadium. And so at first, I remember watching that game, the people thought that the smoke that was kind of hovering over the stadium was just from the fireworks. And maybe at first it was. But then eventually, as the game went on, this fog just continued to envelop the field. And so much to the point where you couldn't really see from the regular camera angle the players on the field. So they actually had to go to like a Madden football style camera angle so you could see the plays and you could see the game. So it was kind of interesting. It was a fun thing to watch. And it was also extra fun because the Patriots blew out Atlanta that night by a final of 23-7. And then the last time that these two teams faced was 4 years ago. So, of course, they face each other every 4 years. The Patriots playing the NFC South this year for the first time in 4 years. So the last time they faced them was in Atlanta back in 2021. And that was November of 2021. The Patriots went there and came away with a convincing, I believe, 25-0 shutout over the Falcons in 2021. That was not a good Falcons team, but I remember the Atlanta wore, I think that was a Thursday night game. Atlanta wore their throwback jerseys, the black ones, the all black with the white pants. Anyway, that's semantics. It doesn't really matter that much, but that's just what I remember from that game. And that was also when the Patriots were playing well back in 2021. They were also kind of on a roll there in November, late October into November of that year, having won a bunch of games in a row. But it was worth noting that when the Patriots beat Tennessee to go to 5-2, that was the best record that the Patriots had, the best start to a season that they'd had since 2018. In 2018, of course, their last Super Bowl winning year. They finished that year 11-5. Coincidentally enough, the same record that they finished the 2001 season when they won their first Super Bowl. And also, coincidentally enough, they faced the Rams both of those years in the Super Bowl, although the first Super Bowl was a lot more entertaining than that last Rams Super Bowl was. But nonetheless, the Patriots came away there. The Patriots lead the all-time series with a record of 10-6 against Atlanta. They're 4-2 at home, 2-0 at Gillette Stadium. I believe they beat Atlanta in 2009 at Gillette Stadium, and that would have been the only other time besides 2017 that they'd faced Atlanta at Gillette. Obviously, these two teams don't typically face each other every season. A little bit of history there. Patriots have won also the last 6 times that they've played in the regular season, but they suffered 4 straight losses to Atlanta dating back to 1989. So hopefully that trend will continue and they will make it 7 in a row. I think they should make it 7 in a row. This is, an Atlanta team that's coming off just a humiliating loss at home to the Dolphins. I know they were without Michael Penix. I mean, Michael Penix has been okay for them, but battling a lot of injuries. And I think if Penix once again is out this week, which I think he very likely will be, and it's probably going to be Kirk Cousins again, I like the Patriots' chances. The Patriots have not faced Kirk Cousins a ton. From what I can remember, they've only faced Kirk Cousins maybe, I may or may not be wrong. I think they faced Kirk Cousins 3 times in his career, and I believe they're 2-1 against them all time. The one loss, I think, was Thanksgiving night of 2022 to the Vikings, if I can remember. But the other 2 games have been wins. They beat Minnesota at Gillette Stadium in 2018 with Kirk Cousins at the helm, and they also beat Kirk Cousins back in, I think, 2015 when he was on the Washington Redskins. and they beat Washington that game. So the Patriots usually, historically, have been good against Kirk Cousins. Obviously, all three of those teams are different teams, but I do like them to continue that trend. I think they go to 3-1 against Kirk Cousins all time this weekend, and I think they keep up the win streak and make it 6 in a row and go to 7-2, entering the game next Sunday, or in a couple Sundays, I guess, on November 9th, when they'll travel down to Tampa, Florida, to take on the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. So what's my final score prediction for the Patriots Falcons? I do think the Patriots come out on top in this one. Atlanta's defense, they did have an okay game on Sunday Night Football back on October 19th. They went on the road to take on Mac Jones and the 49ers. They only allowed 20 points in that game. And for a lot of that game, it was pretty close. It was like 13-10, I remember, for a while, 49ers, before they scored kind of towards the end and pulled away. They held the Bills. This was at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Monday Night Football back on October 13th. They held the Bills to just 14 points. And then they also beat Washington back on September 28th, 34-27. But that was also at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So you look at the last two games for Atlanta. The Dolphins game was also at Mercedes-Benz. You look at the last two games, though, for the Falcons on offense, and they have scored just 10 points. They've scored 10 points in each of their last two games, so 20 points their last two. Of course, that averages out to 10. I think the Patriots hold them down, and I could see this game. I could see the Patriots winning. Atlanta is not nearly as good of a defense as the Cleveland Browns are. And the Patriots still ended up getting 32 against Cleveland, although two of those were on a safety. But I could see the Patriots winning this one. I'm going to go a 3-touchdown win, and I'm going to say 34-13 Patriots. I think they pretty much dominate this one from the start. Maybe they get off to kind of a slow start again defensively. Again, that's been a problem these last, really all season has been slow starts defensively. They've, I believe, let up points on the opening drive for opponents in 6 of the first 8 games. So that could continue again this week. I hope it doesn't, though. I want them to start getting off to better starts defensively, and I know Mike Vrabel has really harped on that as well. That might happen again, but the Patriots usually after that opponent's opening drive have settled in nicely defensively. And we're going to talk in just a moment about the moves that the Patriots made yesterday involving the trade deadline. Obviously, the trade deadline is November 4th on Tuesday. But they are going to be a couple defensive players that they had this past week they're not going to have this week because of that. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I do think their defense still continues to play well enough, and I think they go to 3-2 at home with a 3-touchdown win over Atlanta. Atlanta would fall to 3-5, and New England would improve to 7-2. So that's my final prediction for the Patriots score this week, 34-13. I think they're going to get it done, going to win their 6th straight over the Atlanta Falcons. And now we're going to talk briefly before we go into the NFL games this week and just kind of give my prediction on who's going to win all those games. Because after I've already given my Patriots prediction, then we're going to talk about the moves that the Patriots made yesterday. So the most notable one, two notable moves, 2 defensive players that the Patriots traded away. They traded Kyle Duggar to the Steelers. Yeah, they traded Kyle Duggar to the Steelers. Kyle Duggar, a strong safety. Now, it was Adam Schefter who had a report actually yesterday afternoon that he would be very shocked if the Patriots did not trade Kyle Duggar before the trade deadline. And sure enough, on that day, the Patriots dealt Kyle Duggar to Pittsburgh. They sent him to Pittsburgh. And, yeah, so the Patriots, in that trade of Kyle Duggar, are getting a 6th-round draft pick next year and a 7th-rounder as well in 2026. So, of course, next year's draft. And Duggar, who's 29 years old, had a good start to his Patriots career. Thought he was going to be a guy that could stick around for a while. The Patriots actually extended him a couple of years ago, I believe. But unfortunately, this year, they really just didn't have a place for him. And, with the addition and, Jalen Hawkins also at safety has done a nice job, had a really nice interception on Sunday. So the Patriots send away Duggar to Pittsburgh. Kind of interesting. I thought it was weird that they sent him to another AFC team. But nonetheless, it's not an in-division trade, which you can almost never see in division trades. Pittsburgh, a team that, beat New England earlier in the year, but really, I think because of self-inflicted wounds from the Patriots, I think the Patriots should have won that game. Pittsburgh is kind of backslid. They've lost their last two, including on Sunday Night Football. They fell to Green Bay. So we'll see how that ends up working out. Obviously, the Patriots don't get any immediate returns. We're only going to see those returns in next year's draft. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to follow how Kyle Duggar does in the Steel City. And the other trade that the Patriots made yesterday was trading Keon White, their defensive end, 2023 pick in the draft. Of course, in the second round of the 23 draft, the last draft of Bill Belichick being there. And they dealt him to an NFC team, the San Francisco 49ers. That was kind of I think a 3-team deal. But yeah, Keon White, 26 years of age. And Keon White actually will reunite with a couple former Patriots on the Niners now. Of course, Mac Jones, two guys that he played with back in 2023. Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne, although on the other side of the ball, but still two former Patriots that are now on San Francisco. Keon White joins that. And so the Pats acquired another 2026 sixth-round pick from San Francisco and another seventh-round pick as well. So the Niners lost Nick Bosa back in week 3, which was a huge loss on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, just huge. And Bosa has been done for the year with a torn right ACL. So perhaps for San Francisco, just trying to get some reinforcements on the defensive end with Keon White. I don't think the Patriots have been very happy with what Keon White have been doing this season. And honestly, we'll see. I mean, I hope the Patriots though go out and make some big moves here before Tuesday, because especially you get rid of Duggar and Keon White. The theories are that maybe they're getting rid of those contracts to try to free up some cap space to go out and get some bigger players. And I hope that's what they do. I hope that is indeed what this is, because obviously the returns on both of those trades yesterday were not very big at all. Some 6th and 7th round picks in next year's draft. So you're going to have a lot of picks in those late rounds, but probably not a huge return, obviously. So hopefully the Patriots can go out and make some big moves before Tuesday's deadline. And I'd love to see them go get some help on the defensive side of the ball, especially. I'd love to see them go try to target for a trade Max Crosby from the Raiders, but that probably won't happen. But also some rumors on the offensive side of the ball. Could the Eagles try to maybe trade A.J. Brown? A.J. Brown missed last week with an injury. But could we see a trade with A.J. Brown and the Patriots? I don't think so. A.J. Brown was a guy that was upset when the Patriots didn't draft him, back in 2019. And in my opinion, a huge whiff by the Patriots not taking A.J. Brown. They took N'Keal Harry instead, and A.J. Brown, of course, went to Mike Vrabel's Titans and right away made an impact, while N'Keal Harry, we all know how that ended up. So we'll see what happens here with the Patriots before Tuesday. All right, so now hopefully we'll have some updates for you next episode on Monday as regard to the trade deadline. But now we're going to go into this week, Week 9's NFL predictions, something I want to start doing on this show. And we're going to take a look at the Week 9 games coming up. I'm not going to give you exact score predictions for every team. I give you my prediction for the Patriots. I think that's fair. Obviously, this is a Patriot-themed show. So we're not going to do an exact prediction of every game. But I am going to pick who I think is going to win each game. All right, so kicking off Week 9, it will be tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. The Ravens travel down to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Both of these teams have 2 wins. The Ravens have already had a bye week, and they are 2-5. Miami has not had their bye week yet, but they are 2-6, coming off of the big win over the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm not sure if Lamar Jackson's going to be back or not next week, or for tomorrow night's game. Let's take a look. Does Lamar every game now do or die? I'm looking at some headlines. Yeah, and Lamar Jackson will indeed be back for tomorrow night's game against Miami. They did pick up a win on Sunday with Tyler Huntley at quarterback. That was a home win against the Chicago Bears. I do expect the Ravens to win their second straight and go to 3-5. I think they take down Miami. Miami had a really nice game against the Falcons, but I don't see them keeping that up tomorrow night. So the Ravens, in my prediction, will beat the Dolphins. I'm on the Ravens now, so I got to go back to NFL just to get all these games. Once again, here in Week 9. Yeah, so the Ravens, I predict, will beat the Dolphins. On Sunday, the 49ers travel to face the New York Giants. This one's going to be a harder game to predict. And record-wise, they're pretty lopsided. San Francisco's 5-3, but coming off of a loss to the Texans on the road last Sunday. The Giants are 2-6, coming off a tough road loss to the Eagles. But the Giants are without star rookie running back Cam Scatterboo and will be for the rest of the season. But Jackson Dart, I still think, is very good. The 49ers are a team that's heavily injured, and the Giants are home. I am going to go. I might regret this. I very well might regret this. Now, you know what? I'm going to pick the Niners. I'm going to pick the Niners in a close game. They're going to win in a tight one on the road. I still think the Giants are going to be tougher than people think because Jackson Dart has looked really good. But I do think the Niners come out on top and go to 6-3. All right, Chargers-Titans on Sunday at 1 o'clock down in Nashville. This one's a very easy one to pick. The Chargers will wipe the floor with the Tennessee Titans, who are 1-7 and just a bad football team, will fall to 1-8. The Vikings and the Lions on Sunday down in Detroit at 1 o'clock. I like the Lions in this one. The Lions are playing well, seem to have found their stride a little bit, up to 5-2 now. Maybe not quite as much of a force on offense as they were last year without offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, now being the head coach of the Bears. But I still like the Lions. The Vikings, I think, are in big trouble. In fact, it sounds like Carson Wentz is done for the year. So, I like Detroit in this one, probably by multiple scores. I think they're gonna beat the Vikings relatively easily. All right. We already talked about Falcons Patriots, obviously. So now we go to Pittsburgh, Colts and Steelers. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'm a contrarian, I feel like, by heart. I'm kind of tired of the Indianapolis Colts. I think they've had a nice run. You know, Daniel Jones has obviously been a nice feel-good story for them this year, but the whole stuff with the owner on the sideline, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm sorry. You know, people are like, oh, this is great. It shows an owner who cares. I know, but I don't know. Something about the Colts I can't really get behind. But do the Steelers beat the Colts? No. I think the Colts win. I think the Colts go to 8-1, and I think Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers slide to 4-4 and lose their third straight. Yes, Aaron Rodgers has had a decent year. Do I have a personal vendetta against the Steelers because the Patriots lost to them, even though the Patriots should have won that game? Maybe a little bit. And honestly, the Steelers are not that good. I think they've been getting exposed these last few weeks. I think they continue to get exposed, and I think they fall to 4-4. Indianapolis, I still don't think is that strong, but I do think they go to 8-1. Jonathan Taylor, to his credit, has had an amazing year, and I think that continues. All right, the Broncos and the Texans down in Houston. That's another 1 o'clock game on Sunday. Denver is red hot right now. They're up to 6-2. I believe they're tied with the Patriots for the longest active win streak in the league at 5 games. They both started 1-2, but are now 6-2. I think Denver continues. I think they go on the road and they take down Houston and C.J. Stroud, who have kind of had a down year. C.J. Stroud has not really looked like what he was kind of the last couple of years this year. I know he had a nice game on Sunday to take down a beat-up San Francisco team, but I like Denver in that one to go to 7-2. All right, the next game that we are going to be looking at, Bears and Bengals in Cincinnati on Sunday. The Bears are coming off a tough loss on the road, tough couple score loss to the Ravens, and the Bengals are coming off a very tough fourth quarter loss where they got outscored 23-7 against the Jets, and that was the difference between them getting back to 500 at 4-4 with Joe Flacco and falling to 3-5, which they are right now. This is a tougher one to predict because I think the Bears have shown some nice stuff this year, but I also think that the Bengals have as well, and the Bengals are home once again. But the Bengals coming off of that really tough loss last Sunday, did they kind of get it back together at Paycor Stadium? I'm going to go, it's tough. I'm going to say because I give the Bengals the edge because they are the home team in that one, and this is the second straight week that the Bears are on the road against an AFC North team. Of course, last week they went down to Baltimore and lost. I think this week they're going to lose again to the Bengals. We saw this last year with Caleb Williams and the Bears. I know Ben Johnson's a very good offensive mind. We saw this last year, though, with Caleb Williams and the Bears. I think they started 4-2 and then lost pretty much every game the rest of the year and ended up getting Coach Matt Eberflus fired. Actually, it was the Patriots' win over the Bears last year, I think, that got Eberflus fired. But, yeah. Next, we go to Green Bay. And, yeah, that's another 1 o'clock game where they host the Carolina Panthers, who fell to 4-4 with a blowout loss to Buffalo. And once again, I think Green Bay gets the job done. Green Bay 5-1-1. I think they go to 6-1-1. And I think Carolina falls to 4-5. I think that's a pretty easy win for the Packers. And the Panthers, once again, will lose 2 in a row, going to 4-5. Saints and the Rams. This opens the 4 o'clock window. Of course, 4 o'clock here on the East Coast. That'll be a 1 o'clock game over in LA. And it's the Saints going down there to take on the Rams. I like the Rams in that one. I think pretty needless to say. They've had a nice year, 5-2. I think they go to 6-2. A pretty convincing win, I think, over New Orleans, who has some talent, but is just still not a good football team. They're still better, in my opinion, than Tennessee or maybe even the Jets. But still not a good team. Probably still the 30th best team in the league. And I think they fall to 1-8. The next game in the 4 o'clock window, the Raiders coming off a bye week, hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Liam Cohen in his first year as head coach of the Jaguars. The Jags have, I think, lost their last 2 games. Yeah, they lost to the Seahawks back on October 12th. They got blown out by the Rams on October 19th in London. But I do think the Jags get back in the win column and get to 5-3. I don't think the Jags are a particularly strong team, but I do think they'll take down the Raiders, who are, again, just having a really bad year, 2-5. The Raiders are also coming off a bye week, much like the Jaguars, but I don't know how the Raiders get it done. I think the Raiders are another bottom-of-the-barrel team. And I still am perplexed. I know it was only week 1, but I'm still perplexed as to how the Patriots lost to the Raiders back in week 1. All right, the premier matchup probably of the week, other than the Sunday night game, is the one that everybody's been talking about going into this week, is the 4:25 window. It's the Chiefs traveling to face the Bills. Who wins this one? And I know a lot of people like the Chiefs, I like the Buffalo Bills in this one. Not because I think the Bills are a better team, But because when you look at the trend of how this meeting in the regular season has gone the last number of years, the Bills have typically come out on top. And I think once again, it happens again this year. The playoffs, where it actually matters, Kansas City has come out on top every time, though. But I do like the Buffalo Bills to come out on top and go to 6-2. They're coming off of a blowout win over the Carolina Panthers on the road, coming off the bye week. The Chiefs are also coming off a blowout win over the Washington Commanders on Monday Night Football, so kind of a shorter week for them, albeit by only one day, but a shorter week for the Chiefs. The Bills coming off a blowout and in front of their home crowd. I like Buffalo to go to 6-2 and Kansas City to fall to 5-4. But make no mistake, the Kansas City Chiefs will be in the playoffs and will be a force to be reckoned with at the end of the year. I am not writing off Kansas City at all. They have certainly looked better these last few weeks, and I think they're always going to be there at the end. So as much as I don't like them, you got to give them credit there. And the second to last game of Week 9 is the Sunday night matchup, which will be the Seahawks traveling to take on Washington. And Washington's had a down year. It's hard to predict, but I like Seattle to go to 6-2. Sam Darnold has had a really nice start to the year for the Seahawks. I think the Vikings fans are kicking themselves right now. The Vikings organization is kicking themselves right now for letting Sam Darnold walk. Man, who could have predicted that we would have been saying that a few years ago? But they are kicking themselves right now over what he's been doing in Seattle. And I think Washington's tough year after making the NFC title game last year continues. I think they fall to 3-6. I know it's at home, but they've been dealing with injuries from Jaden Daniels, and I think that's going to be a problem in his career for Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels, when he's on the field, he's a really good quarterback, but the critique of Jaden Daniels when the Commanders took him was that he's small. He's a small guy. He doesn't have a lot of meat on his bones, and when he gets hurt, I mean, he's going to probably be dealing with injuries for a lot of his career. And that can end up biting Washington because they were fortunate last year to get a healthy year out of him. But I think we're seeing this year that might not be what happens every year. He's going to get hurt at times, and that's going to hurt Washington, I think, in the long run. And I still have questions about Dan Quinn as a head coach. We saw it when he was with Atlanta. He did have some nice years with the Falcons, but towards the end really fell off. So, again, is Dan Quinn really a head coach or is he a defensive coordinator? I think we're gonna find out in these next few, this year and maybe the next couple seasons. And finally, to cap off week number 9 in the NFL, it's the Monday night matchup. It's going to be down in Dallas, the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Dallas Cowboys. And I got to say, thank goodness that the doubleheaders of Monday Night Football are done. I'm sorry, but I don't like it. I think in week 1, you can have a doubleheader. Week 1, maybe you have a game at 7:30 or even 10 o'clock. But then that's it. But then you got to stop the doubleheaders maybe until the playoffs or till December maybe, because I don't like it. I think it's silly. I think it's another gimmick that the NFL has been implementing, and they've implemented a lot of gimmicks lately. Dallas's defense is a big concern. We saw that this past Sunday when they let up 44 against the Broncos. I don't think Dallas is a very good football team. They're also dealing with some injuries on the defensive side of the ball. But I do like them to get back to 500 for what it's worth, 3-4-1 with the tie against the Packers. I do like them getting back to 500, though, to get to 4-4-1 as they I think they're going to knock off the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are a hapless team right now. They've really struggled. I think they've lost 3 in a row and are now 2-5. I mean, they lost to the Titans. But then they played the very next week. They played a tight game against the Colts in Indy. They lost by 4. And then they played a tight game Sunday, October 19th. So they had a bye week this past week. They played a tight game against the Packers. But you know what? I like Dallas at home. Give me Dallas over the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cowboys get to 4-4-1. Arizona, where the record might be a little bit misleading with a lot of the close games they've lost, but they fall to 2-6 and lose their 1, 2, 3, 4. Gosh, that would be 5? That would be 6 straight losses for the Cardinals. My goodness. Yeah, they opened the season with a win over the Saints, a win over the Panthers. Yeah, so the Cardinals were 2-0. I mean, they barely beat the Panthers at home in week 2, but the Cardinals were 2-0, and this could be their 6th straight loss. And I think it will happen at the hands of the Dallas Cowboys. So that's our wrap-up for week number 9, predicting the NFL score or NFL wins and losses, not scores maybe. But I do want to briefly touch on the World Series. Of course, the World Series, not involving the Red Sox, but it does involve baseball. Or I was going to